I feel rejuvenated, kind of, because after working on it so long, it's so much work. A lot of people, they're used to just seeing the outcome of work. They never see the side of the work you go through to produce the outcome. And I feel, you know, rejuvenated and happy. It's a jubilation, really, is what it is. It's like a celebration. It's like, we're done.
I think people have resolved on the fact that Thriller was the biggest selling record in the world. How are you going to follow up, you know, on something like that? It's almost impossible. Try telling that to Michael Jackson, though.
The Thriller is the blockbuster behemoth in the era of blockbuster artists. I mean, you know, that's the era when you had, you know, Madonna, Springsteen, Whitney Houston. So big stars, big album, MTV era, music videos are in ascendance. So, and it's the signature album of that era.
Thriller sold over 100 million copies worldwide to date. 35 million in the US, over 70 million outside the US, and that's not even counting singles.
There was a mania around Michael and Thriller for those 3 years that was very difficult to capture again. And I mean, you go back to Elvis or Frank Sinatra or the Beatles, even today with Justin Bieber or Lady Gaga, it's a space and time. The window is only open, you know, so far, and Thriller captured that. It was magical.
Thriller broke every record that existed, and it sold more records than any other album in the history of the music industry.
To most of us, he's just wacko Jacko. And if some of the press are to be believed, he bathes in Perrier water, eats flowers for lunch, and sleeps in an oxygen tent, often with a chimp, a snake, and an alien in a sort of bizarre love triangle.
All that stuff is trash. And it all comes from the fact that Michael Jackson doesn't do interviews, and they have nothing else to write about.
What surprises me sometimes, the people that get distracted and myopic about Michael's eccentricities when they listen to his music and watch his performance, that's like somebody saying, hey, there's a cobweb on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel.
This article is from Playboy magazine, January 1985. It's called Freaks and the American Ideal of Manhood by James Baldwin. So the Michael Jackson cacophony is fascinating in that it is not about Jackson at all. I hope he has the good sense to know it and the good fortune to snatch his life out of the jaws of a carnivorous success. He will not swiftly be forgiven for having turned so many tables, for he damn sure grabbed the brass ring. Freaks are called freaks and are treated as they are treated in the main abominably because they are human beings who cause to echo deep within us our most profound terrors and desires.
People tend to reduce the backlash to Michael Jackson to these eccentricities. But I think that the James Baldwin quote suggests that it was more than that. Michael Jackson became one of the most powerful figures in the entertainment industry, and certainly he was the most powerful African-American to that time. And in addition to that, in 1985, along with John Branca, he acquires the Beatles catalog.
When we announced the acquisition of the Beatles catalog, it was almost a feeling that Michael didn't have the right also to be a savvy businessman. It was a misconception that Michael went behind Paul McCartney's back to bid on the catalog, but that was absolutely not the case.
I remember when he bought the Beatles catalog, he came to me and he said, you know, they want whatever it was at that time, $52 million. It sounds like too much money. He said, I think you're wrong.
A lot of those Beatles songs are considered sacred songs by people. I mean, they really are more than just pop songs they heard on the radio. They meant something in their lives beyond almost any songs they heard. I mean, Sgt. Pepper particularly, right? And for him to take that catalog and use it in the way he's used it, it's gonna have some kind of backlash.
After Thriller, you know, Michael had a few extra dollars to invest. And we had an investment committee, and we used to look at all sorts of possible deals for Michael. And he never had interest in buildings, tax shelters, the kinds of things that maybe other people were interested in at the time. One day, Michael came to me and he said, I saw Paul McCartney's song catalog. He showed it to me. Do you think you can help me buy copyrights? And I said, absolutely, Michael. We bought a couple Dion and the Belmont songs, Run Around Sue and The Wanderer. Then we bought the Sly and the Family Stone catalog, which was a major acquisition for Michael.
Oh, Michael's 28 years old now. You know, he's not baby dumpling now. He's grown, he's listened, he's growing up, and there's other kinds of things he wants to say, and the stretches, I feel the stretches are there, but they don't seem like they've been conscious stretches. You know, I think they're things that just occurred along the way to say that this is the way I feel like thinking and feel like feeling, you know, at this time now. And one thing we really have tried not to do is to sit down and worry about competing with Thriller, because that's really self-destructive, you know, and it's dishonest.
He would always, and not there, would write with a red Sharpie on his mirrors in his rooms, wherever he was. He'd write 100 million albums sold for Bad to remind him when he would stand in front of the mirror, brushing his teeth, brushing his hair, doing himself up, that was his goal.
I remember, you know, seeing on Michael's mirror, he wrote the big note, 100 million albums. And that was a goal that he set for himself. But I remember one time I was in Hong Kong with Michael, and it was in between the records. And I said, you know, Mike, there's a lot of pressure. Why, maybe you should think about why not do an album of cover songs that inspired you? Jackie Wilson, James Brown, just go a little left to center so you don't feel like you have to compete with yourself. And he looked at me like I was from Mars. Because Michael thrived on that pressure. He thrived on pushing himself and everybody else around him.
If this record doesn't do as well as Thriller and doesn't win a whole bunch of Grammy Awards, he's going to be very unhappy.
He would call during the Thriller and during the bad days, my record's not #1. My record's not #1. What are we going to do? I said, Michael, what are we going to do? I said, we're going to go to sleep. We're going to get up tomorrow. We're going to work on getting you #1.
Michael didn't have limits. You know, Michael thought Bigger Than Anyone, Off the Wall, was a huge hit. And when he told people after that album, I'm going to follow this up with an album that's going to sell twice as much as Off the Wall, people didn't believe him. And he did it. And so with Bad, he said, okay, I'm going to do it again.
Bad has a special distinction. It's the first album in history to generate 5 consecutive #1 pop singles. And that record was only recently tied by Katy Perry with her Teenage Dream album. It started with I Just Can't Stop Loving You in the summer of 1987.
Bad.
Then you had The Way You Make Me Feel.
Man in the Mirror.
And finally, Dirty Diana.
It's a testament to his swag, really, that he even made another record after Thriller. It did take him 5 years.
I was 16 years old when the Bad album came out. I remember being highly obsessed with every aspect of that album.
We were just like, what is this gonna be? Because this was a humongous deal.
I guess in some way or another, my education of the industry and those inside it and outside, it really starts with that record.
The original album title was Smooth Criminal. That was the original name of the album. And again, Michael called me up. He said, this is what he wants to do. And a couple days later, I got a call from Quincy Jones. Larry, he says, I got a problem with the album title. I go, it's actually kind of cool. It's edgy, it's kind of cool. He says, I understand what you're talking about, Larry, but I will not allow this album to be called Smooth Criminal. He just felt that the connotation was inappropriate at the time. And I said, well, let me call Walter and I'll get back to you. Because Walter Yanikoff was very involved with this project. And Walter says, I don't care what you call it, just put it out.
This was the most published music image of the year. We were prepared for it for 3 days. We were shooting the video in the subway in New York. Every day after shooting, we'd go, okay, let's do it. No, I'm tired, I got something to do. Next day, okay. No, I'm tired. Okay, the last day, Frank says, Mike, he's been sitting here for 3 days. You gotta take this picture. Okay, Frank. 3 rolls of 12 shots later, he goes, that's enough. And this is what we came up with.
There was an album cover shot, and it was done in a very 30s style. It was a copy of a Vogue photograph of Gloria Swanson that had been shot back in the 30s. And they took a piece of lace and they stuck it in front of the camera, and they shot through the lace Michael's face. It was just a headshot. So it looked like that Michael was wearing a veil or a piece of lace on his face.
He did have a veil, and I said, I'm not putting on an album cover with a schmutter over his face.
He called me up and he went, that is not the album cover.
We wanted a tough album. We wanted to get a tough image anyway, you know, because it's important that you keep trying to change, you know, change up, you know. And this is the one where I'd asked him to write all the tunes.
This room was built for Michael. Yeah, this Studio D in Westlake was built for Michael Jackson, and for specifically the Bad record. I was in this big room here. We had Phil and Gaines in the other room, in E, I believe it was, doing all the synth parts. We had Jerry Hay and the other guys doing other arrangements in the others. We had this whole building locked out.
Locked out?
Locked out. Everybody's working on different tunes on the same record.
Well, the Bad song really sets up the entire album, because this is a song in which Michael's kind of addressing the huge backlash that had taken place since Thriller. The whole world has to answer right now, you know, who's bad?
Well, it is quite different from anything I've ever recorded or I've ever written. It's a bold statement to say, but I mean it in all goodwill, you know, so don't take it too seriously.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm saying, it's like a way of saying you're cool, you're all right, you're tough. I'm not saying I'm like criminally bad. Of course, that's how people would take it. It's a bold statement to make.
Opening line is, your butt is mine, you know. I mean, that's street, you know, like, let's get it on, you know.
So I wanted to do a duet with Prince and have the video with him coming to kick Michael's ass.
The rivalry between the two of them, between Prince and Michael, for real music lovers at that time and real music fans, there's a rivalry that is unmatched and will probably go unmatched for many, many years. Michael impacted dancers.
Nobody can touch him dancing. So I think, you know, when I try to dance, I try to, you know, not mimic him, but I try to, you know, not let him down in a way.
Prince impacted musicians.
Michael Jackson and Prince were the polarizing figures of the 80s. Are you a Michael fan or a Prince fan?
You can't do that. You can't. You know why? Because I think that Michael and Prince came into our lives at a different point.
They're synonymous to me. They're equal.
Michael and Prince are our heroes. You know, they're our musical heroes. My annual Michael Jackson versus Prince party, that's something I've been doing for a while, really just to pay homage and tribute to those two artists.
I'm Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson.
I met Michael once at, ironically enough, a Prince concert. I was performing with Prince in Vegas. After the show was over is when I met him backstage, and so I thought that they had been nemesis all these years, but it turns out, you know, Mike was, you know, pretty big fan of Prince as well.
So Michael said, Frank, set up a meeting. I want Prince to come over. And the meeting took place at Havenhurst, 4641 Havenhurst. And Bob Cavallo went over with Prince and Frank.
They actually met, huh?
They met, and Michael's steady. And I recall, I wasn't there that night, but I remember I was told the next day it was not a happy meeting. Apparently, Prince brought over some sort of voodoo box, and Michael was convinced that Prince was trying to cast a spell on him.
If Quincy had gone to Prince and said, write a song for you and Michael to do, that song would have gotten recorded.
Not by Michael.
But Michael wouldn't have done it.
Now, Prince wasn't doing no song with Michael Jackson. That was a very optimistic view that he would get down. At that point, between he's in Sign of the Times era, he's rolling.
Oh, the cool thing about playing on the title track, Bad, was I shared a solo with Jimmy Smith.
Jimmy Smith played on that. Jazz organist played on that. He was great.
That was the groove, you know. And then Jimmy did this organ solo on top of that, and here he comes. And here I come after that. Watch out!
By 86 and 87, hip-hop is now becoming the dominant thread in a lot of aspects of American pop culture. And so Michael's responding to that to some degree with the Bad video and the imaging of Bad, but it's done in a Michael Jackson way.
The first step that was taken was to bring in Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese to direct the first video from the album. And Michael never called them videos. It was the first short film from the album.
You never hear him say, I'm doing a music video. I'm doing short films.
He wanted people not just to hear the music, but to see it.
We had a meeting with Quincy and with Michael in Los Angeles, and I found that really they were wide open to ideas. Nobody had ideas on what kind of story we could make up or what kind of issue we can deal with. And so I suggested that I hire Richard Price, who just wrote Color and Money for me, to do the script.
I just thought Michael Jackson and Marty Scorsese, I mean, it's like, that's too bizarre for words. Absolutely, I will do it.
If it's to be anything, it should be something very, very different from what he's done before. And that means a dramatic piece. And it's something with a lot of style and a lot of grit to it.
I don't remember exactly who said this, but he said Michael wanted to make a video to show the brothers he's down. So he goes to the Italian asthmatic, he goes to the Jewish asthmatic, and we're gonna make Michael a homie.
We gave him these 3 ideas.
And Michael and I both loved the one called Pressure. That was the working title of this one, about peer pressure.
I had just read this article that a friend of mine, Robert Sam Anson, had written about Edmund Perry.
Within the hour, police revealed more information about the death of a young man from Harlem. He had graduated with honors from an exclusive New England prep school. Edmund Perry was killed by a police bullet on Morningside Drive.
They had read stories like this before, too many of them. Black kid, 17, from Harlem, poor, with another black youth, tries to rob a white man, who turns out to be a plainclothes cop.
Edmund Perry was a kid from Harlem. He and his brother, Jonah, had both gone to prep schools. So they were like, privileged, not privileged because they were exposed to privilege.
And this was a kid that was very much kind of dealing with what's becoming a more common kind of internal conflict among black kids who were put in isolated environments.
Listen, I want to say before you go, you did a real good job this term, man.
Thanks.
And are asked in that passage to let go of the culture that spawned it.
Yo, the back is back, my man.
So, I just went off and I wrote this thing. I wrote it in like 2 days. It's only 10 pages. And Marty thought it was great.
Oh, yeah. He did ask me. He took me aside and said, do people live here? I said, oh, yeah, this is a good one. I said, you gotta, because we went to some others and I was pretty,
Was he scared?
A little bit, I think. For him, I thought it was a shock to see that.
Looks, I think we better go for a walk, man.
How did I get cast in this? Audition. We all had to have an audition. It was quite a few guys. I don't know exactly how many.
Wesley came in. It was just, there was no, there was no question.
And the guys I went in with, they all, all approached the characters kind of B-boy-ish, characteristic of B-boys, with the yo, man, yeah, this type of thing. And that's not my particular style, so I went the opposite direction of what they did. And I played it very, very subtle.
Yo, college, what's your major, man?
This is high school, there ain't no majors.
Then what's your minor?
Wesley Snipes, his appearance in that video was probably one of the most notable acting debuts. And the fact that he made his mark known in a music video, everyone remembered Wesley Snipes after that moment.
Are you bad? Or is that what they teach you up at that little sissy school of yours? How to forget who your friends are? Well, let me tell you something. I don't care what they teach you up there. You either down or you ain't down.
And one of the things that I found was this piece of paper, which he wrote bad film on there, and it's titled Today's Motto, Let Nothing Be a Take, unless I'm extremely satisfied, unless I felt it in my soul.
You want to see who's bad? You want to see who's bad? Come on. Come on, let's do it. Let's see who's bad, man. Come on. Come on, let's go.
All right, as we were putting the piece together and working on the choreography, it was towards the middle of it that they said we have a location. So they took us to Brooklyn to the Hoyt-Sciberhorn subway station. There is a place where the train is actually running under us. There's a midsection. That's the place we went to. The first time we walked in there, we were with Martin Scorsese, Quincy Jones, myself and Michael, and we're walking through there, and Michael goes, wow, this is great. Yeah, it looks real. Look, there's even some pee stains over there. Wow, it's really nasty. Yeah, that's great.
Well, even if we catch him with the last 2 steps. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Oh, sure, because he's hiding. I mean, it's ideal if we don't see him. And then we come back. And we come back and he's frozen again. It'd be great if we could do that.
That move is like you in Taxi Driver.
Yeah, I
right
like
there.
I like that. No.
All right, let's just go again. Same thing. Same thing.
Speak. 19 Kansas, take 5. Action! No tengo chango.
Run, Mujo! Run!
I mean, there was a moment there with the older man when he said, give me a quarter.
Give me a quarter.
No tengo chavo.
Run! Go! Run!
And the guy just, something happened that sort of hurt his arm a little bit.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
What can we do?
We're gonna, I'm gonna take care of it.
Okay. I promise you it won't happen.
No, please, do it in the same way. I mean, it has to be done in that way.
The only time Michael really became, I think, very, very concerned was at that moment where he begged me, please don't do another take on the guy. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I mean, really begged me. I said, no, all right. Except, actually, it's all worked out. No, please, please, I beg you. We were having him. It's true, we did have it. So, you know, I went with that. That's what I want to see. It's going to be like this.
You can't touch me.
No, I don't.
You can't touch me.
Okay, so just run through the lines this way.
That's the way it's going down? Huh? That's it? Well, you ain't down with us. You ain't bad at all.
He's pulling up on the lines.
You know, Wesley's talking to him, and Wesley's got this fierce kind of like profile and everything like that. And it's almost like I felt like, you know, scared for Michael, like he was going to get eaten.
I was so happy to see Michael Jackson being tough. I was so happy to see him in what seemed like regular surroundings.
I think I was a little bit caught off guard because it was like Michael talking, you know what I mean? Michael sort of being very kind of like rough a little bit.
I don't know if he was trying to reaffirm his connection with the Black community or what he was trying to do, but it was successful.
It's one shot. Whatever's best for him.
Michael?
Whatever's good for him. At this point, it's only one shot.
The thing is also when he drops down into it and everybody starts surrounding him.
Yeah, if we drop down in front of the 3 guys the opposite way, we sort of, 3 guys will be in the way of the camera.
Okay, great.
What I didn't realize is that, you know, I have this like earnest, you know, social drama, and all of a sudden it's going to end in this choreographed big song, you know, and it was like, huh?
I remember this, yeah. Now, the thing is, oh, yeah, this is pretty much the, you know, what are you going to do, dance us to death, I think he says?
What, y'all gonna dance us to death? You gotta be kidding me.
He probably was gonna dance him to death.
So he said nothing here. Raise up.
I think the bad moment, outfit-wise, was far more influential than Thriller moment. Like, Thriller moment might have been more iconic, but Bad was more influential. So I'm like almost dressed like that today.
And when everybody's out, they're all staring at each other and the pipe breaks.
You're right.
Everybody looks.
So what's up?
We're gonna hold that a while. Pow!
Michael Michael was very interested in incorporating body popping into his videos. So he feels like the dancers themselves know more about what we're doing. So he chose to use the street dancers to choreograph the videos with him.
I'm moving you on count three. And show your steps, you let it beat. And hit those little things like boom, we do little moves in between those little up rhythms.
We would work with the dancers in the daytime, but me and Casper would go to the Helmsley Palace Hotel and work with Michael at night. And we'd be working till 2:30, 3 in the morning. You know, it would take turns creating different things, making different things happen, and then he'd get in there and he'd do his thing. I'd get in to do my thing, and we would take turns doing that. But it wasn't like a dance-off, like competing against each other, but like pushing each other, inspiring each other, and pushing each other to the next limit. So at first it was myself and Casper and Michael only. Then after I got a hold of Greg Berg, and Greg Berg started coming over to the rehearsals with us as well. And we were just gelling, just coming up with ideas. There was nothing constructed yet.
I know people made a lot of, like, what's a showmon?
Showmon!
Showmon is basically his hat nod to Mavis Staples.
Showmon!
He could have went with James Brown and been like, look at here, or Marvin Gaye and I love the fact that he played that homage to one of the under-champion soul singers of her day.
Michael has this scooting move where he's scooting forward. That's a Michael signature step. I said, Michael, that has never been done in a group before. Could you imagine if all of us were scooting across the camera like that? So now it's looking like a train, just with the group of us doing this. And it worked out beautifully.
At your hands, when they say the sky's the limit, to be the spirit of do. I'm a French, I say nothing, just a rain so I can
Were you familiar with the Michael Jackson grab the crotch?
No, I was not familiar with that at all.
It's all through the whole piece.
The whole thing is all throughout. It's throughout. Within the moves, it's right. I mean, what can I say? The way he's moving.
But it was a surprise, though, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
He took what was formatted as a choreography and he learned it to the point where he could break out of it when he wanted to and get right back into it without skipping a beat. So Michael would just spin and snap out of it and grab himself. Ho! We never knew any of this was going to happen. And that goes to show you his genius.
What makes one go out and mug a person? I mean, there's so much involved in a person who does that. Insecurities, frustration, resentment, all of these things. In one movement, I have them lifting the leg up with that feeling of wanting to fly, like we all want to do. We want to fly. And the next movement, it's just anger. And the next move, it's tenderness.
Michael's seen West Side Story. Michael knows Jerome Robbins' choreography. I mean, I know he does, because that's where that looked like it came from to me.
Greg, he contributed because he's a technical dancer. You know, he's jazz and stuff like that. So all the really West Side Story looking stuff is what Greg put in the piece. I tried to keep some street stuff in it. You see those type of moves in there?
So crane down and
Yeah,
dolly back?
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, no ceiling. I mean, the ceiling was low.
There it is.
Oh, my God. I thought it was funny. It seemed like a good idea at the time. So my daughter, when she saw this, she said, Dad, you were in jail? I said, no.
It was my intention to make this dance move throughout this subway. I wanted things to move.
The big issue, of course, ultimately was for such a master at dancing, the concern is to show from head to toe.
I had to try to convince him that I think if the camera moves could all go together. It does come back at the end to a reality in which they split. And of course, it's all summed up in which is an interesting idea that Jackson came up with, was to do what he calls a breakdown, a breakdown which turned out to be pretty much in the tradition of a preacher giving a sermon. And we did that 3 cameras live.
And Michael goes, okay, I want you guys to just follow me. I think I had to be one of the only singers in the group because a lot of the guys were studying dance.
Oh my God, it was church, it was James Brown. If any place reaffirmed him, or if he was trying to reaffirm to people who he was and where his roots were, and the soulfulness that he has, and frankly, the blackness that he was, it's those last 30 seconds.
Sometimes he even lost us, you know. Get around, catch me and dinner. So guys,
Your brother, that's your mother, that's your sister, that's me. You're doing wrong. 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 You're doing wrong.
and this is something that he envisioned and he was feeling, and then finally got to the end.
So that's the way it goes down, eh?
There was a lot of talk at first of doing a different thing, of maybe everybody smiling and being happy with it.
18 Apple, take 3. Hey, Hank, action with it.
Yeah, it was cool, all right? I mean, ain't no hard feelings.
With it, I said, just doesn't seem to work. It just is the fellas have to more or less accept him, and he accepts them, and that they go their own way. That's it.
Last week, Michael Jackson re-entered human history to gladden mankind with his latest album, thus triggering a wave of media silliness and cross-promotion. CBS television led off the Festival of Foolishness Monday night. It broadcast a half-hour special on Jackson and his new album.
I mean, when that video comes on Monday night, everybody's going to be glued to their TV screen, and they're going to be with their friends. They're going to be saying, do you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that?
It was before the age of the internet. I mean, the most that I could do was call somebody else's house that had three-way, who then called another friend that had three-way. Like 7 of us watched this short film on three-way in dead silence.
I was just transfixed in front of the TV.
We took all the documentary footage we could find on Michael from the very early stages when he joined Motown Records. It ended with a video clip of him in London with hundreds of girls screaming and yelling. And we put this rumble track underneath the screaming and yelling to really enhance it.
This is like this with the Beatles.
And Michael just loved this, this comment by this woman of comparing him to the Beatles. That he lit up when he saw that. He just turned to me from the chair and said, I love it, Larry. I love it.
If you saw it, you witnessed one of the great bald-faced masterpieces of promotional hype in this hype-splattered decade. This video is sending out some very strange and mixed signals, social signals, that cry for some critical analysis in the media.
Some people in the press got down on it because, you know, first they're making fun of Michael Jackson, you know, in it. And then some people got onto the note of, is this racist? You know, are you exploiting a tragedy for the sake of a music entertainment? You know, Marty's in Morocco, Quincy Jones is in, you know, on the red carpet somewhere, and, you know, I'm the idiot in Long Island that's getting all the calls. And I'm going, no, it's not racist, what are you talking about? Freaking out, you know, like a good liberal.
There was a ballad that was released for the first track from Thriller, which was a duet with Paul McCartney, he duplicated that by doing a duet with Saida Garrett.
25 years ago, I sat at this very spot and played this very piano to record I Just Can't Stop Loving You.
I just want to lay next to you for a while. You look so beautiful tonight. Your eyes are so lovely. Your mouth is so sweet. A lot of people misunderstand me. That's because they don't know me at all. I just want to touch you and hold you. I need you. God, I need you.
I Just Can't Stop Loving You is an interesting song because it's the first single released off of the album. And so the firing squad was ready. They would have ripped anything apart because they were ready. They were ready to just, tackle whatever he threw out there. And in spite of that, it goes #1.
To me, I Can't Stop Loving You is like, is close to his Burt Bacharach song.
It was actually originally intended as a duet with Whitney Houston.
This award honors you for your consistent artistic and technical excellence in all forms of video and for raising the standard of the art form to new horizons.
Thank you, Whitney.
You're welcome.
To all the fans around the world, thank you very much, and I love you.
So Arista Records says, we don't want Whitney to be overexposed,
Clive Davis. When I see Clive, I'm gonna give him hell. Just kidding, just kidding. Everybody calm down.
I remember when it came out, I was really disappointed because I was like, you're gonna put out a slow song after this whole run of Thriller and all these songs, you're gonna put out a slow song? Come on, this is the big comeback. This is the big, where's the music video? And who's that girl singing? And I only later found out it was Saida Garrett.
And there weren't very many people in the studio. It was just Michael, Quincy, Bruce Sweeting, and me. And Quincy just sort of over his shoulder said, hey, Sid, you like this song? And I'm going, yeah, I'm knitting. Yeah, I like it. He said, you think you can sing it? I'm like, yeah. So I walked in this room and I see these 2 mic stands and there's music sheets on the mic stands. And in the moment that I saw the music sheets where it said, Michael, Saida, that was the moment that I realized, oh my God, I'm doing a duet with Michael Jackson.
I hear your voice now, you are my choice now, the love you bring. Heaven's in my heart, at your call I hear harps and angels sing.
I'm singing, my eyes are closed. You know how I... And Michael started tossing, I think it was popcorn. I'm singing, my eyes closed, and I'm feeling this. And then Quincy, all Quincy sees is me, he said, Sid, this is studio time. You're wasting time, Sid. You're wasting expensive studio. And Michael is cracking up.
I Just Can't Stop Loving You started at 3 a.m. That's one of those you get the phone call to wake up and we need to record right now. And we were done probably an hour and a half.
On the album version of I Just Can't Stop Loving You, you make some very strong, sensuous remarks to a woman that you're lying next to.
I was in a bed when I was doing that.
Really?
Also, yeah. I was laying in the bed, cover and everything.
At night when the stars shine, I pray in you I'll find a love so true. When morning awakes me, will you come and take me? I'll wait for you. You know how I feel. I won't stop until I hear your voice saying I do. I do. This thing can't go wrong. This feeling so strong. Oh, my life ain't worth living if I can't be with you.
When I was recording my bits, I didn't need any charts. I would just listen to the demo, really, internalize the parts that way, and in talking a little bit with Michael and getting his wishes across musically, I just translate all that and play it.
Oh, you girl!
I was slated to be on the Bad Tour. I was convinced that by my record company and other people that I needed to do a record because the duet had just come out. And I'd rehearsed with them for a week when I decided I want to do my record. So I pulled out.
The stars shine, making it
But the band used to bet on whether Michael was getting excited during the song. Now,
Singing to you?
yes.
You
Now
say that?
I say
Say
that's
it again, say
I
it
say
again.
that's a stretch. Working with Michael and doing the duet is really, it's intense. Every time we do it, it's a different experience, you know. And he draws you in so much, and just singing a song into his eyes and having him look at you, it's really exciting.
Michael Jackson has such a great instinct for the groove. Like, the groove was in Michael Jackson. Like, he was rocking at all times. He could hear the groove. So if you take that groove and you put it to orchestration, it makes it bigger, it makes it more powerful.
Quincy Jones-Michael Jackson collaboration was historic.
It was a match made in heaven because, first of all, there was a tremendous amount of mutual respect. There is no one in popular music history like Quincy. As an orchestrator, as a composer.
Coming from all of his background, Count Basie, Frank Sinatra, Dinah Washington, playing trumpet on Lionel Hampton's band.
The most beautiful part about the love affair, and that's what it is, the love affair between a producer, or whatever you want to call it, a person that's on the other side, a person that loves that artist enough to never want to see him in trouble and only want to see just the best for that artist, to come up with the best results, is an incredible trust where you can say, jump, Michael. There's no parachute, there's no net, there's nothing there. There's 34 stories down. Jump.
One of the great things about Quincy is that he has this ability of mixing all kinds of different genres and personalities into one beautiful blend.
Because he only uses the best, the creme de la creme of musicians.
Working with Quincy was like being in school. I learned so much about separation in trying to make a record where everyone, he used to say, everybody can't come in the door at the same time. And he used to always say, you can't polish doo-doo.
But you can't polish doo-doo, you know. You got to have a great song in the beginning. When we look at the end of a day, and I have goosebumps, and Michael has goosebumps, and Bruce Swedien, the engineer, has goosebumps, then I think we've got something special.
And Quincy just puts his little fairy dust over it, and it's a Quincy Jones project, and it's kind of, as he says, leave space for God to walk through the door and create some magic.
Michael Jackson invented the champagne music. You know how in San Tropez, when you order champagne, they bring the sparklers out with the champagne? Michael saw that 20 years ago ahead and made a sound. Michael Jackson made the sound of fabulous, him and Quincy.
And Michael was one of those sources of energy where he brought so much originality, but then also was an amazing collaborator.
He's so disciplined, and he's got that perfect balance of soul and science. You know, he knows the working parts of his craft, and he has total trust in the intuitive part of his craft, and so that's the balance, is the head and the heart.
Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, they created 3 hurricanes that basically went through the globe, and everybody got caught up and danced.
Well, we're here today to try to finish up a session with Michael Jackson singing in Spanish and in French, in the French tongue. We've spoken about this for years and years when we were doing Off the Wall, when we were doing Thriller, but we never got around to it because by the time we finished the album, we do disco versions and we do videos, etc. And I think inside we weren't really sure whether we could make it work.
Como la brisa
The one thing I didn't think was possible was just to do a translation of the song. So I
Word for word, you mean, right?
Yes. So what I said was, let me understand the song and I'll be as close as I can to what the song was about.
Tu me haces sentir deseos de vivir junto a ti por siempre. Tu amor es mi suerte.
One more. I think I need more level too in the phones. Like I'm drowning the track out.
It was a privilege for me to watch the way he performed and the way he handled this. He felt perhaps a bit vulnerable.
I'm sorry, you can continue. Okay, here we go.
When you control the whole thing, all of a sudden now somebody's telling you how to do something in a language that is not yours, and so you are vulnerable. I mean, and I made it my main effort to make him feel comfortable, not to feel that I was like in any way mocking him, because it's not easy. This is the first time he ever tried to do anything in Spanish that I know of. I wanted Michael to sound like you don't know who that is. The pronunciation was so good that I was stunned.
Y cuando no estás, no hay felicidad.
Both of them. Mi vida no es vida. My life is not a life si tú te vas, if you leave.
Si tú te vas.
Todo mi amor eres tú. All my love, you are all my love.
Todo mi amor eres tú.
When people found out that Michael Jackson had sang a song in Spanish, they were very, very, very proud and happy.
Well, the Havenhurst studio is located in a guest house here at the Jacksons' property, at their home. And this studio was used for recording demos, and I worked with Michael recording and developing his ideas, his songs, his arrangements, his productions for the Bad album.
Over a 2-3 year period of time, and it was just a nonstop work in progress. The number of demos that we worked on for Bad was 60, maybe 65 demos.
When I received the demos, they were in really good shape at that time.
I guess I didn't realize it at the time, but what we were doing was we were forming the B team. Quincy always called his team the A team. His engineer, Bruce Swedeen.
John Robinson on drums.
Arranger, Jerry Hay.
Nathan East on bass. Keyboards would have been Greg Fillinganes.
I started with Michael here at Havenhurst, and we were the kind of the initial team, which was John Barnes, myself, Michael, Bill Bottrell, Chris Carell.
And then at times, other musicians would come in. The most prominent would be David Williams, who's no longer with us.
And in some ways, I think Michael kind of liked that vibe. He kind of liked the vibe of, having a little competition to see who could come up with the best thing. I think this is one of the things that he learned from his Motown days. This is something he learned from Berry Gordy.
We weren't making demos. We were making records.
Anybody else would be perfectly happy to accept a Michael demo as a finished record. Let me put it that way.
We would work every single day on creating individual sounds for songs that were going to ultimately be on the record. We would record them, re-record them, different keys, different speeds, different instrumentation. And so that became kind of an experiment in how far could we push.
And Michael would say, it starts in this very room. And from this room, it goes out and it spreads over the entire world. It's quite an experience to be back here in the Havenhurst studio, just as it was when I last left it almost 25 years ago. We never knew what we were going to do when we showed up, coming to the studio. If Michael was inspired, we followed it. So this is Michael singing multiple harmony parts. This is Michael double tracking the mid, the low, the high parts. There's actually 10 tracks of Michael singing his own backgrounds on this song.
The way you make me feel, you really turn me on. You knock me off my feet.
You can hear the difference in sound quality from being out here in the music room to walking into the bathroom. Now, this room was one of Michael's favorite places because of the nature of the surfaces in this room. One of the things that we would do is we would record with the door to the shower open. Much more reflective, a lot of what we call early reflection, a lot of brightness, a lot of reinforcement to how things sounded.
I know that. Really turn me on. Keeping me up on my feet now, baby. Lonely days are gone.
Met with Quincy Jones and Frank to find out what they were looking for in the video. And they said, basically, we want to take Michael to another level, especially with his relationships with women. Then I talked to Michael, and I said, where do you want it to happen? He said, Skid Row. We wanted a long prequel, just like they did in Bad. I contacted August Wilson.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I'm from Pittsburgh, and August was from Pittsburgh.
So what did August say?
No. He said no. I did this little documentary about the guys on the street accosting girls, real stuff. And showed it to Michael. He looked at it and actually said, could we make the video look like this? Because it was all handheld and jerky. And I said, sure, if that's what you want. You sure you want that? He said, yeah.
Get out of here, man. Check out that rear end. Don't touch my head, man. You're acting like a little tramp.
And we actually used real gang members in the video. We had the V-13s down here on this corner and the Crips on this corner. And some of the guys were smoking. And Michael came to me and says, Joe, the guys are smoking down there. You know, it's kind of bothersome. And I just turned and said, will you fucking guys quit fucking smoking? And Michael, like, he almost panicked. He almost hid behind me because there's all these gang members. We had cops everywhere, though, so it wasn't a big problem. When he sees the girl, he did a thing with his fingers going. Happened once. My brother was operating the camera and caught it. I said, oh my God, thank God.
Michael had the best sounding fingers, didn't he?
I don't remember which song it is, but on Bad, he has a credit for finger snaps.
One of the most amazing moments that I remember was Michael walking, and catches up to Tatiana and sings for the first time.
You knock me off of my feet now, baby.
Everything stopped. We had to stop shooting because people just froze. They actually froze.
So to play a shuffle like that for 12 minutes is not easy.
Michael's mother, she has this song in mind. She says, Michael, you gotta come up with a song that has this real shuffling kind of rhythm. And Michael says, okay, yeah, I'll see what I can come up with.
Shuffles have, a unique rhythm where most songs you hear are kind of linear, like shuffles kind of, have an extra rhythmic element going on.
You can have a cowbell underneath the backbeat to reinforce the sound. None of the backbeat that you hear on that album is going to have just the basic, typical snare drum sound.
I record the drums on a wooden platform. It minimizes what is called secondary pickup, which is where the other mics in the room pick up from those sound sources. And then we got the idea, why doesn't Michael stand on that when he sings? And he did, and it sounds glorious.
This
This was my first album ever as a little girl, and I cried and cried to my mom to beg her to please buy this for me. I would play this like crazy and dance with it. I mean, this was a dream come true. This was something I had fantasized and dreamed about since I was 5 or 6 years old.
The girl that we finally chose, Tatiana, wasn't in my first 5. I didn't like her. And I showed Frank DeLeo, his manager, the casting tape, and he said, that girl's running around with Prince, and Michael finds out, he'll be upset. And that girl's running around with so-and-so, I'm not gonna name names. I can't say it because it was Quincy Jones. I think, as I remember.
She seemed physically to be the female version of Michael Jackson. There may have been in his head an interesting idea about, wow, this is almost kind of my perfect complement.
She was the finest thing around at that time, and I wanted to be Michael. I wanted to be Michael walking right beside her, standing on cars and I wanted to be Michael that day.
I first got hooked up with Quincy through a band I was playing in Los Angeles called Seawind. We were playing at a club. Quincy, always being at the forefront of finding new talent, heard about us as a horn section, called up one night, Jerry, this is Quincy Jones. What? Yeah, you want to play on a record? Of course. You want to do an arrangement? Oh, okay. He said, how about tomorrow? And that was kind of the beginning of this 30-plus year relationship with Quincy. The horn players are 2 saxophone players, Kim Hutchcroft and Larry Williams. The trumpet player, Gary Grant. The trombone player, Bill Reichenbach. Vamp out. Again, 2 trumpets, 2 saxes.
The day of the audition, I wore a dance skin, a black dress with boots and bracelets, bangles, which was kind of like my signature thing at the time. And I heard that Michael liked my look. He liked the whole style of what I had done, so he kept that.
We created a complete look for her. Hair, extensions, and we changed her makeup completely.
I had 2 dresses at the time, right? One was pink, one was black. And the black one was kind of like reminiscent of a Tatiana dress. That's where I was living.
The Way You Make Me Feel video, you know, when he's chasing the girl around, that was kind of how I pictured my baby video. We kind of based it off of that. In my video, you can see it's like I'm in a bowling alley, but it's kind of like a modern version. I'm chasing her around, trying to, you know, get her to like me.
Micah called me and said, I told Joe Pytka, who's going to direct it, that I wasn't going to do any dancing. But the more I listen to it, I think I want to put some dancing in there. Could you go to a studio and like work on some stuff maybe, and then I'll come in and join you? And Joe came in to see what we were doing, and he heard this music going on, and he was like, what the heck's going on in here?
I see this beautiful piece being choreographed, but the idea that I had for the video didn't have a place for that. We had to very quickly improvise where to put that. That's where we came up with the fire hydrant idea.
fans were always bombarding me with the question, why does he chase you throughout the video only for a hug and not a kiss? Joe Pitka, the director, he whispered in my ear right before the very last scene where we hug. And he told me, he said, don't kiss him.
I felt the kiss was too corny. I'm not even sure I wanted him to get that close. I wanted to maybe stop it here. But it worked out with the caress and the hug and everything like that.
He says, because you were originally supposed to kiss, but Michael's too shy for that, so don't kiss him. When Michael did finally come out, and we got close and we hugged, I could smell like a minty fresh scent from his breath. Yeah, so
That was a signal.
I kind of think
You
he
should've went for it.
prepared, but being told not to kiss him and that he couldn't handle it, he was too shy, I didn't want to take advantage like that.
Oh, listen, Tatiana was not shy. She was not a shy girl. And in fact, going on with this story a little bit, she was told definitely, don't kiss Michael on stage.
He was complaining she'd becoming too aggressive on stage and everything. And I made a joke. Is this going to be X-rated, this thing? I said, Mike, why don't you just go fuck her? You know, fuck her one night. Get it over with. And he started laughing. And Frank says, what the hell are you doing? I got enough goddamn trouble here without you trying to get him involved with this girl.
But for me, it became policy because I said, okay, if Michael doesn't kiss in the video, I don't think anybody should kiss in the video. So since that day, I always edit out kisses in videos. And one in particular, Justin Bieber made a video. He was gonna kiss the girl, and I went crazy. And I went crazy, A, because he wanted to kiss the girl, and B, she was a black girl. And I was like, okay, you're about to mess up your whole thing, man.
Mandavani? No, Michael Jackson!
Speed Demon is, you know, a song that maybe people aren't as familiar with on the album, but it actually serves as a metaphor for the entire album. Because what Michael's trying to do with this album is escape from all the things that are confining him, all of the things that are suffocating him.
Here he is! Hey, buddy, how about an autograph? Would you autograph my tummy?
Speed Demon was my song. I'm a percussionist, and that song was 100% syncopated adrenaline. In the James Brown mode of rhythm arrangement, where you use instruments as percussion.
It was pretty much claymation, you know, matted into live action settings. So it was a real mix. The whole idea of that music video, or that short, was really to merge live action and claymation together. There was one place in the story where, you know, he turns into our character, Spike Rabbit, you know, as a way to sort of get away from the paparazzi and so forth. Our Spike character wanders through in this incredible chase, but when they come back and they separate like this, and so Spike's still there and Michael's right there, and they do a duet, you know, a little choreo dance thing. So we had to make Spike Rabbit dance with, you know, right alongside Michael. And that was really, really fun because, for one thing, we had to work out the choreography between what he was going to do and how we were going to do it, and, you know, figure out, you know, exactly how the moves are going to work and work it right to the music and so on.
Instead of easing into it, maybe it just, you know, just really hit it.
A flurry. Yeah, I wish I could. I feel so limited. This stuff is so tight on me.
Upon finishing with Speed Demon, he called up one day. You know, he got around to saying how much he loved the California Raisin commercials. So I realized where he was going, and I said, Michael, you should be a raisin. Yeah.
Well, I really need you to call me pertaining to the backup guys. Their characters got to be much stronger. It doesn't hit it right on. This is very important. Thank you. Bye.
The rap raisins materializing behind me. I wanted to define their character. And as far as expression, which is 99% of it. The one guy has the glasses, and he has a type of attitude that he's so cool that I'm fortunate that he's here. And he's much too cool for like one of these. And the other one is like a sarcasm. It's like what you looking at. The other raising would be this style, no glasses. So his eyes is most of the expression, like. Like that. Must have been something I hate.
So right now on the decks, I have a 12-inch single to Liberian Girl and Run DMC's beats to Sucker MCs. It sounds something like this.
So Quincy wanted some kind of African little intro thing here. So this is Michael Boddicker on synth and all these effects, kind of giving African sunrise sort of thing.
I mean, people are underestimating how radical that was. Nobody else was writing songs about African women as beautiful in 1987, 88.
Michael, how are you? So nice to see you again, eh?
Nice to see
Yes.
you. I've had the time of my life here. I've had so much fun. I hate to leave.
Here's the biggest pop star in the world who quote unquote is making himself look white. And yet he's very engaged with beauty and the idea of Africa as a site of beauty. It just speaks to the fact that Michael had a very strong African consciousness. He went to Africa a lot. He was very engaged with the continent.
Is there a Liberian girl in your life?
No, I wrote that in at my house in the game room. I guess I was playing some pinball or something. And the song just popped in my head. And I think I ran upstairs, put it on tape. And it became Liberian Girl.
When it was created, it just happened like lightning. It was just an instant thing. Normally, it took a lot of time to put things together. That one happened in 3-4 hours.
I'm a great believer in sonic fantasy, not sonic reality. Sonic fantasy means creating a soundscape that exists only in your imagination, that only you can see. So I could see these incredible soundscapes, and I thought to myself,
Liberian Girl?
Liberian Girl is
My man.
is a perfect example.
I did a little synth work on that. That part right there. And it's got a little bird thing happening on the end of it. Quincy said, give me some of that bird stuff, Boddicker. It's got a little bit of it. The next time is even more so. So there's this part that I wrote.
I played drums on Speed Demon and Liberian Girl. That was good. Liberian Girl was a fun song to do because everyone would always ask me, why didn't Michael write a song about a lady working in a library?
Yeah, it's a little sexy lady behind the counter with the glasses and the pencil in her hair, and she drop her hair and do that thing. I thought that's what he was talking about.
No, that's not what. And that was just, he thought that was the funniest thing he's ever heard.
The video for Liberian Girl is probably the point where they may have run out of budget. It just has a bunch of celebrities that are waiting for Michael to show up.
Lovers in a scene, then she says, do you love me? And he says so honestly, I love you, Liberian girl.
Michael was not in Liberian Girl because I think he got tired of making videos. I was talking to Walter Yednikoff about it, and he said, you gotta get him in the video. So I called up Michael and I said, you gotta be in this video someplace. He goes, okay, I have an idea. And he goes, you got one take, you got 15 minutes.
One sec. Just let me tell you when I'm ready, okay? One sec.
Ready?
Almost.
And he got in the chair, they rose it up in the air, and he said, you know, action.
Action.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap.
Cut! They didn't even shut the engine off. They got out of the car, no makeup, got in the chair. It was one take, in, out, and Michael left.
I'm gonna mock myself.
I watch you on the floor, cheek to cheek. She's getting to you. You didn't see her eyes on me, no.
More time, please.
How did Just Good Friends make that album? Well,
They could have picked a better song. Michael could have written something. Stevie could have written something.
Exactly.
They could have taken something from their back catalog.
An album should be built with peaks and valleys. Michael Jackson, with Bad, actually tried to achieve 11 peaks. I believe that in Michael's head, everything had to hit you out the box and absolutely become a monster single. And because they were attempting to go for a single, and the summit meeting between two former child prodigies from the Motown school, that you expected fireworks. You know, Just Good Friends just wound up being a little coffee break in between The Librarian Girl and Just Another Part of Me.
I think there was a lot that did exist at that point that would have been as strong or stronger. I mean, his vault has got to be staggering.
My man, Stevie Wonder.
I mean, unbelievable talent. And he's another worker like that. People are in there working and recording every day.
I had on my album that I wanted him to do, my character's album, which was Get It, Gonna Get It. So we sort of, both did each other a favor for a favor, favor, favor. But I made sure the song he did of mine, I wrote. Yeah.
No, my baby love me. I know y'all gonna love her. You don't know it better.
That one, we couldn't get the right song. I know I didn't have the right song, so somebody says that didn't work. I know it didn't work.
Come on, baby!
Baby!
Starting to get stinking now.
Whew, I can just punch that part in.
Excuse me.
Great.
Beautiful.
Oh, did he go home?
Is that it?
I just ran off, didn't I?
Another Part of Me, my favorite cut on the Bad album.
All the instruments incorporated in that song, as well as just his vocals, nobody can kind of, teach that. I think that's just natural. So whatever he was on at that time when he was just like, yo, I'm in this, I feel this, I need to do this, I just think that's his blessing.
The song itself actually wasn't going to make it onto the album because he'd recorded it earlier. He actually preferred a song called Streetwalker. The litmus test is always what song gets Michael dancing. So when Quincy saw Michael just dancing all around the studio to Another Part of Me, he said, that's what makes this song go on the album.
Michael Jackson's Bad is black music, and dare I say pop music's first stadium album. Every song, I can hear it being thought of in his head as this is what I want it to be when I perform it in front of 60,000 to 80,000 people.
Taking over, we have a dream.
people forget that Michael Jackson's a soul singer. Michael Jackson grew up watching Jackie Wilson, James Brown, and the whole circuit. So his default move is always to go raw.
I love Dirty Diana.
That's your favorite song?
One of my favorites.
Why?
Because it's a life story of a groupie. I hate to say the word groupie, but that's what it is. And it's something that I've experienced, and a lot of people who grow up on the road.
Dirty Diana. Who knew that one day I would live that song in real life so many times over?
I like Dirty Diana. I've met her. I've met Dirty Diana many times.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael, for making that small piece of the soundtrack to my life on tour.
And I remember when we were kids, we thought, was he talking about Diana Ross? Did he have an affair with Diana Ross? No, that wasn't the case at all. But as kids, we didn't know what was going on. Who was Diana? What she did dirty?
I got a phone call out of the clear blue from Quincy, and I thought somebody was fucking with me. So he goes, it's Quincy Jones. We're working on Michael's follow-up to Thriller. We got a rock track. I'm not a session guitar player, man. I'm not that world. So I said to Quincy, I said, the only thing I ask is that, Michael be in the studio and we work together. He said, of course he'll be in the studio. It's his fucking record, man. He's gonna be in the studio. I opened up the studio door in Westlake, and 3 guys, Bruce Sweden, the engineer, Quincy Jones, and Michael Jackson. And the first thing I noticed was Michael had penny loafers on. And they were like pristine. And I was like, I'll be all right. He's wearing penny loafers. This is the actual guitar that I recorded Dirty Diana with. By and large, I'd say this probably been in the case. Maybe it's only been opened one time. I don't really play this kind of guitar that much. The backing track was about 8 minutes long. And as the track's playing down, Michael's like right here, and he's going, and he was really adamant. There's that little space on the 3rd phrase. It's a subtle thing, right? And I didn't catch it right away. That little thing was so important to Michael to catch that little space there. I was like, why is he making such a big thing about it? Not playing. It's brilliant, though. It's as important what you don't play as what you do play. Still good.
They wanted to do Dirty Diana. And so both videos were to kind of change the public's perception of who he was. First one was to get him a girl, and the second was to make him a heavy metal kind of guy. The original idea was to have the thing finished in a monsoon or rainstorm. We were going to shoot the second day, we were going to have the whole stage blow away and have him finish in the rain, totally, the wind and rain and stuff. And I think we were going to sweep away the audience and everything. But the first day, he was doing these knee slides and didn't put pads on. He came to me the second day when we were ready for all this rain stuff and said, I can't dance anymore. So we couldn't resolve it that way, but it didn't matter. You see the wind and stuff in the first day that starts, and like I said, it was going to be a deluge after that.
They didn't even tell me that that the photo taken on the set would be the single sleeve back cover. It showed up one day and I went, I can't, you kidding?
Michael always was able to think outside the box of what black artists were supposed to do and create his own space.
There was this internal mechanism that Michael had when he felt the music, when the rhythms were right, when the beats were happening, when the correct emphasis was happening on the syncopation. He'd have to move, he'd have to dance. And when he'd start to dance, we would know that the balance was correct, the elements had the right character, the syncopation was hitting in the right fashion.
Michael gave me the music and he said, listen, don't impose your opinion or your feelings or your choreography or your thoughts on the music. Let the music talk to you and tell you what it wants to be.
First time we discussed it, he got these visions in his mind of what he wanted to do. The robot, the car, the kids, the drugs.
Every kid in this whole world can take drugs because of me.
And how do we bring it all together into a story that had a piece in the middle, which was a song and dance?
So we started working on some stuff. It was called Chicago Nights, which was really Smooth Criminal.
He was a huge fan of Fred Astaire and wanted to make sure that he paid homage to Fred Astaire in the movie.
For Criminal Dance, look at all the great dances on tape. Study the great and become greater. Get all Bob Fosse movie dances. Study these inside out, knowing every cut, move, music, etc. Flashdance, all that jazz, bandwagon, girl hunt. This is a drawing titled Criminal Jacket, and you can see that he's created the basic outline for the jacket that he wound up wearing in that short film, including the armband. And he also made a note to himself that he needed to get his Kenny shoes now so that he could break them in.
But when it came to style, I showed Michael an all-time favorite of mine, which was The Third Man, because it's sort of gangster-ish. We should shoot it in that kind of style, and he just loved that style. And making use of the shadows that they had with that sort of film noir look.
There's a story, actually, that Quincy told me years ago. And what he said was that Michael had the ability to come in. He could lay down the lead vocal of a track. And then he could sit there, listen, just put the time in, and figure out where all the harmonies should go. And then do that, not leave until he had the harmonies right. And when I think of Smooth Criminal, I was just impressed, again, the vocal.
He could sing bass, baritone, and tenor, but he chose to sing mostly tenor. Oh. He goes clear down to bass low C. That is low, that's a basso pitch. And Michael would go right on down there with vibrato, and clear up to a G above high C. I mean, that's enormous. That's more than three and a half octaves. He really didn't want to grow up. He wanted a child's voice. And I always tried to encourage him to use his beautiful speaking voice. I was in Europe one time and the phone rang and he said, hello, in a perfectly male voice, baritone. And I said, Michael, why don't you use that? He said, I don't like it down there. I like it up there.
How high do you have to sing today?
I want to be all the way open.
There were some of the songs that he was singing, he needed a much wider vocal range. And with the exercises that Seth Riggs provides for him, it enabled him to open up his range so he could sing higher, much higher, and much lower.
So I had to make sure that his voice was even from bottom to top. I have some very strange exercises, which are a little different than most people's. And they're called speech level singing. So we started doing these crazy things. Gee, 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 gee. Oh. Sometimes there's
I sampled PYT for Good Life. I actually met him at Leo Cohen's house. He said he liked my voice. And then I think I took that too seriously, and I did a whole singing album.
This is the mic that I used on Michael at about this distance for all the recordings. Except one, Earth Song. This is actually a mic that's designed for narration recording. However, I knew that the sound of this mic would work well with Michael's voice.
I never quite understood who Annie was. And why did it matter if she was okay or not?
Who is Annie? I never knew that as a kid. Let me know who Annie is.
Over in this corner, there was a green fiberglass case, and there was a CPR dummy in the case. Michael had been given CPR lessons. The first thing that you do when you're going to administer CPR is you make a determination of the condition of the victim.
We used to have to do CPR on somebody. It's like, are you okay? Are you okay?
Wow. Whose life did he think he was gonna have to save?
CPR dummies are all named Annie.
You just kept asking, was Annie okay?
But how many different ways can you say, Annie, are you okay? And he found like about 15 different ways to say, Annie, are you okay?
It's like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? Annie, are you okay? It's like, okay, I don't think she's okay.
I gotta be honest, and I was never a big fan of that song. You know, Michael loved it to pieces, man. Played it. I remember we went to do the video on that. I never heard, there must have been 135 decibels. Loud, man, I mean, ears were falling out.
We started with maybe like 10 or 12 dancers. And he then introduced me to Jeffrey, and he said, I'd like Jeffrey to be part of this, and, you know, maybe there's some street stuff, because I've been working with Jeffrey and, you know, and privately, and he's teaching me some stuff.
See, the thing about it is Michael can't go out to clubs and hang out, because he's Michael Jackson. So, through me, he was picking up what was happening in the hood, and I'm taking it to his gallery over at the Jackson House on Havenhurst.
My name is Phyllis Brooks, and I want to direct my question to all you guys. Who teach you guys your dance steps? Just get to really blow your mind.
There's one guy I saw on the show, Don Campbell. He changed my life. He did not dance like everybody else. He didn't move like everybody else. He's just walking to the beat. Walking, walking, walking. Jump up, stop, stick out his own hand, give himself 5. Hunch his shoulders, point it, pop. And that was locking. You can see Michael doing, like, you can see him doing those, he's putting this locking in his, you can see him just incorporating little things into his stepping like that, you know? Funky chicken, that's a funky chicken. So these dances came from Soul Train too. Michael Jackson, he loves it. He loves the locking, he loves the popping. When you see him on stage and he's ticking, Michael is deep into the urban contemporary dance, because I don't call it street dance anymore. It's left the streets years ago.
I had created movement for Michael from his passage in to his passage out. There were a couple places where I said, okay, you know, Jeffrey, why don't you do this? When he comes around the pool table, I'd love you to do something here and make this work over here, you know?
I got this from a Bugs Bunny cartoon. These gangsters with these gangsters hat, and they're all bouncing like this, coming. I was just trying to capture that kind of animated thing.
Okay, here we go, same thing. Ba-dum, bum, boom, bum.
And again, right after the hat, I think it's the hand. Boom, 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 boom.
Bang, da, ba, 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 bang, bang, boom.
Some of the dance moves in there, you know, maybe you find out. I still don't know how they did that thing.
The whole thing with the lean. I had done the lean in a Paul McCartney movie called Give My Regard to Broad Street.
When I'm on the plane, when we take private jets, we always, like, when it's taking off, we kind of, like, lean forward to try to do the same move as Michael. So it kind of looks the same.
So what, you want to know how it was done?
Even to this day, I will reference the Smooth Criminal lean, and people instantly know what I'm talking about.
What happened? There's a break in Smooth Criminal that was never supposed to be there.
The music breaks down, everything gets cool. They show a cat walking across the piano, the lights go blue. We did not know about this.
For that break in the middle, he just wanted to let the dancers feel the set. I mean, we'd been shooting for quite a while by then. And he just said, you know, I don't want anything to disturb us. And I said, I was shooting 5 cameras at the time. Plus, Jerry had 5 cameras. So there's 10 cameras shooting. And you know, we didn't know how long it was going to go on for.
A lot of the songs he writes are about being observed, either from the point of view of he's the object or that he becomes the person looking at someone like him or the object or person. For someone who grew up in the spotlight, being watched is a very big part of how you see the world.
This is a guy who was never not in the newspapers every single day, being ridiculed, wacko jacko. I mean, inside, he's a kid. How that stuff doesn't penetrate you and hurt your spirit.
Michael Jackson's got a shrine to Elizabeth Taylor. Michael Jackson's got an amusement park. Michael Jackson's had a lot of facial surgery. So I said, you know, Michael, when you're in the schoolyard and you're the smallest and you get teased a lot, it's really only fun to tease you if it bothers you. If it doesn't bother you, you move on. So why don't we just take all this crap that's being said about you, and why don't we say it? Why don't we put it to visuals?
Leave Me Alone. It was a lot of fun to play that. It had that intro. But there was also a string part that kind of played the same thing, but it was just accenting that. And he was just kind of saying, dig in, you know. And I remember him standing right next to me going.
See, a lot of people misunderstand me. That's because they don't know me. I guess that's true. People believe a lot of crazy stories they read.
You ever want to lash out in any type of way and say, hey, that's not true?
Yeah, a lot of times.
I don't care what you talking about, baby. I don't care what you say.
You can see, you know, how he's starting to feel like he's a spectacle. In the video, he's tied down. It's inspired by Gulliver's Travels, and he's tied underneath a roller coaster, and you see these dogs with corporate suits banging the pegs, like trying to tie him down in this big kind of amusement park setting.
I only got a glimpse of what his life must have been like when I would be in Europe and our limousines would be attacked by mobs with them thinking that Michael was in our limousine. And if that's your initial introduction to the universe when you're a 5-year-old, then that has got to inform what you feel like the world is like.
I'm waiting for Michael, and a guy comes up, and I don't see Michael. He goes, "Hi, Jeffrey, how you doing?" I said, "All right." He said, "So, are you ready to start?" I go, "Yeah." But I'm not looking at Michael. I'm looking at these bushy eyebrows, a short afro wig, and these sideburns and this makeup on. Michael had been out going door to door for Jehovah's Witnesses. So that's why he put on a disguise so people wouldn't know Michael Jackson is knocking on their door. And I'm sure some people are slamming the door in his face like, "Ah, Jehovah's Witness, get out of there."
Sometimes I want to sneak into places and not have any hoopla or, you know, and it doesn't work all the time.
I went to the Shrine Auditorium, and the guy tapped me on the back. And I turned around, and it was the old man. I said, "Who is this?" He said, "It's Michael." I said, "Man, you scared the mess out of me."
I have incredible disguises. I can fool my own mother, and I enjoy doing it because I get to see life the way it really is sometimes.
One day he said, "You know, my brothers are in town, so I'm going to see them tonight." I said, "Oh, that's cool. All right. So the next day I came onto the set, and Michael goes, "Yeah, I waited for my brothers all night, man. I fixed my hair and everything, but they didn't show up." Sorry, this bothers me, but he said, "I would give anything just to be able to go to a party and stand in a corner somewhere or stand behind a curtain and put my head out and be able to see what it's like for real people to just be real people."
It's the choice that we make, and this choice you will take. Who's laughing, baby? So just leave me alone.
When you see that film with all of those images, every image that you see of Michael started out as 35mm movie film, which then turned into a stack of photo prints this tall, which people sat around for 2 weeks cutting out. There was one guy whose job was just cutting out Michael's hair. The Charlie Chaplin ball and chain idea was Michael's. We knew that we had a sequence where we wanted to have a dance sequence with the Elephant Man's bones, and so Michael showed up the day of the shoot with that piece.
Leave Me Alone was extremely ahead of its time.
Leave Me Alone was my favorite video and song off that album. Like, just even the amusement park setup and the way they chopped the graphics up, there's nothing that compares to that even to this day, as far as visuals go.
Michael's quest for creative independence, which started when he and his brothers left Motown, continued through Off the Wall and Thriller, reached a high point with the Bad album and the Bad tour.
He didn't tour with Thriller, and then with Bad, he finally had an opportunity to create the kind of show that he wanted to create, the kind of show that would represent him as a solo artist.
It was Michael's first solo tour, and in fact, it was the only tour in the U.S. that Michael ever conducted.
What a night, what a crowd, what a gig, what a venue. Who'd have thought? Wembley Stadium, the home of Live Aid, the home of Nelson Mandela, and now the home of the king of it all.
It's a grueling tour. It starts in September 1987 and goes until January 1989. He did 15 different countries, 123 different shows, and it actually proved to be one of the most successful concert tours in history.
The Bad World Tour set 3 Guinness Book of World Records. One was the highest grossing tour of all time, the most attended tour in history, and then the shows that he did at Wembley in London was the most consecutive shows an artist had ever sold out in history.
The tour generated a lot of income, and Michael Jackson donated a lot of that income to charities of his choice.
We're making a very, very large contribution to the Prince's Trust Fund, and it'll go to the Ormond Street Hospital.
Camp Good Times, Ronald McDonald House.
The United Negro College Fund and the Burn Center, the Michael Jackson Burn Center.
I love you.
This is hard. My brother, the legendary king of pop, Michael Jackson, passed away on Thursday, June 25th, 2009 at 2:26 p.m.
I had performed about a year or so before then in Australia. And I remember having this dream that I was listening to the radio, and on the radio came that Michael Jackson had died. Then I woke up
you know, sweating and nervous and just really going crazy.
Where were you when heard Michael died?
I was in Montreal. I was directing a project for Cirque du Soleil.
I was sitting here in this chair, in this room.
I was in Savannah, Georgia.
I was at my own studio.
When he died, I was supposed to go meet him. I was supposed to see him at the Staples Center.
I think I was in a car.
I was actually driving in the car.
I know I was home that day.
So I turned on the radio. Then I hear.
I was on a radio promo tour, and I was just in the car, going to my next radio station.
I was on a set.
I was shooting Boardwalk Empire.
At my job, late night with Jimmy Fallon.
I was in London going to get some water from the store, some bottled water.
I was at my house in LA.
Los Angeles. No. I was in Panama.
I was actually working.
I had a BlackBerry I picked up in Moscow, and the person said, "He's gone."
Wow. I was in Sony when I heard Michael Jackson pass.
I was in my office having an audition with some artists.
My doorman said to me, "Mrs. Robinson, Michael Jackson died."
Actually, my security guard at that time came in and told me that, and he's just wrong all the time.
I just didn't buy into it for 1 second.
And I couldn't really believe it, and there was nothing on the news at the moment up there telling me that this was true.
I said, what? I said, come on, don't listen to that.
And I didn't believe it.
It just didn't seem real.
I thought it was a lie.
I couldn't believe it.
People must have called me. Must have gotten 50 calls.
Don't call me and tell me that, because it's not true.
I think I started crying on the spot.
I couldn't even breathe, man. I couldn't even breathe. I just collapsed right there on the ground.
We all kind of stayed in a daze. Everything just became a blur.
And I immediately called my friend Bruce William, and he was in shock as well.
Everything stopped. Couldn't do anything.
It was like...
Sorry. Sorry, man. I really loved the guy.
I miss his hugs, just his friendship, just being around him, just to know he's around.
And I had just seen Berry Gordy several days earlier, and we sat at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, and we were just talking, and I said, "I think Michael's gonna do those shows in London?" And he went, "I don't know."
I was at the funeral and I sang. I've never sung at a funeral before, ever. So this is Michael Jackson's funeral, and they come in and they go, "Mariah, you're on first."
I Never Dreamed You'd Leave in Summer was a song that myself and Sarita Wright, well, she was my first wife, Sarita, wrote together. When I sang it at Michael's homegoing service, I never ever imagined that I would be outliving Michael Jackson. It's very, very painful.
It's still unbelievable to me that he's actually dead, and we should all be ashamed. Each of us 2 and 1. And I don't know who to look at. And Michael said, I guess, look at the man in the mirror.
Just like when John Lennon died, people turned to Imagine. When Michael Jackson died, people turned to Man in the Mirror.
Thriller doesn't have that inspirational pop anthem on it, like a Greatest Love of All, Whitney Houston, Saving All My Love for You, that kind of thing. And it's interesting that bad does.
We kept talking about how nice it would be is to get an anthem that had a good feel to it, you know, it's like some sunshine on the world.
So he called a meeting with his West Coast songwriters. I think there were like 6 of us. He said he wanted something upbeat. He said he wanted something that felt good.
Whitney Houston's second solo album was storming the charts, and I think she provided a little bit of heat, and I think that the label was concerned about how to kind of appeal to this audience that had gravitated to Whitney Houston.
Went to Glenn Ballard's house, who was my writing partner at the time. I said, this is what Quincy wants. He said, oh, well, let's just see what we come up with. He stands up, goes over to the keyboards, turns on the keyboard, and starts playing. So I'm flipping through my lyric book while he's playing these, just getting sounds on the keyboard. Cut to 2 years before this meeting. I'm writing with John Beasley, jazz pianist, and his phone rings. And he picked the phone up instead of letting the machine pick it up. Yeah, what's happening? I'm not doing nothing. And I'm thinking, he's doing something. And I'm flipping through my book. No, he didn't just say he's not doing nothing. No, he didn't. So I'm flipping through this book and I hear him say, the man? What man? Oh, the man in the mirror. I wrote, man in the mirror. So 2 years later, I'm at Glenn's house and the phrase, man in the mirror, just popped out at me and I started writing these lyrics that I couldn't write them fast enough. I couldn't get it all out fast enough. And in like 15 minutes, we had the first verse and the chorus for Man in the Mirror. I'm certain there will be a change. And starting with that man in the mirror. I mean, the lyrics evolved into what they are, but these are the humble beginnings. Glenn said, you go finish the lyrics and I'll finish the track and we'll demo the song on Friday. Friday night, we finished it after the Quest Publishing was closed. So I called Quincy at home. He said, I'm having a meeting, you can't drop it off. He said, just take it to the office on Monday. I said, I can't wait till Monday. Let me just drop, Sid, I got, Quincy, all right, shit. And I go to his house. I give Quincy this really quickly. I give him this cassette. I said, all I ask is that you just call me as soon as you call. He said, all right, shit. 2-3 hours later, I get a call, and Quincy goes, Sid, this is the best song that I've heard in 10 years. And I'm like, the key was one step too high for Michael. So Quincy wanted me to re-sing the demo in the new key. So I come here and I'm singing the demo in the new key, and Michael is filming me.
Whenever you're ready, Miss Saida.
Gonna make a change for once in my life. Gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right. As I turn up the color on my favorite winter core, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street, not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? Hello, deeply sky. I got that image because I was walking down the street in New York, walking past this brownstone that had been torn down, and it was fenced, just a lot, with broken glass. And this tree, that someone had carved their initials into this tree. Somebody's broken heart, and one man's soul, yo. They follow each other on the wind, you know, 'cause they got no place to go. That's why I want you to know.
It was really a great song from inception. But I think what Michael did is he took that song and he made it his own.
In popular music, there's often this idea that you are either the songwriter of your own material or you are the interpreter. The interesting thing about Michael Jackson is that he was both. You may not even know what he's talking about. Broken bottle top, all kinds of images are floating. But it's the conviction and the fervor with which he brings to the song that is really spectacular.
And he said, Andre, I got a song. If you were listening to this and wondered where a choir should be, he said, I would love to have a choir, and I've heard your music.
If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself. It doesn't make that.
Chant, I said, right there, he said, you're exactly right.
And the choir sang,
Man in the mirror.
Andre Crouch's choir seriously threw down at the end and it featured all kinds of singers, including, I didn't even realize that the Winans were on there.
My brother Marvin asked him, you know, exactly what do you want us to, how you want us to do it? He was whispering into Quincy Jones' ear, and Quincy would actually relay the message to us. And my brother Marvin said, well, Michael, can you talk? Mike broke out of the shell, sat down on the piano, started playing the part. I didn't even know Michael played piano.
Okay, here's my favorite lick right here. Woo! That's when I was hot back in the day.
Man in the mirror, Quincy said, give me the monster claps. Those hand claps, that's what you're hearing.
The three of us would surround the mic. We'd nail it in real time. And then what we would do, we would speed this machine up maybe 15%, so the track's going by really fast, and we're still clapping the same thing. Then when you play back in regular speed, it's fat. So we have two sets of claps in real time, and the fat claps underneath, which are exactly in the same time. That's why if you listen to all those records we've done, some of the best clap sounds you'll ever hear.
Once we cut the track, Andre Crouch and his wonderful singers came in here, and Bruce Swedien had them all up on this stage. Bruce is such a genius, he would have them actually stand over on this side, then they would stand over on this side, then they would stand in the middle, because he wanted to get all this really incredible imaging.
That's why it sounded like 57,000
it really did.
people.
Okay, now bring the choir in gently there. Yeah, baby.
When the session was over, everybody was going back to their cars, and I was listening to it with Quincy. I said, Quincy, you know what? We should have put change at the end. He said, yeah. They were getting in their cars, parking lot, and I whistled, and they all come. I said, come in, we got to do something else. And they came in. I said, just say. And then Michael said, make that change.
Somewhere between Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones, Bruce Swedien, the musicians, Greg Fillinganes, and all these guys, something took place in those sessions that technically sounds better than any records ever made to this day.
Michael Jackson meant that the unachievable was achievable, that you could be respected, you could be successful on a global level as a person of color.
There's no one that will take his place. The discipline imposed upon him, for good or for bad, from the time he was a baby, it's not even legal to replicate that in today's world.
Michael is the most professional performer I've ever worked with in my life.
He made it all look so simple. He made it all look so natural. And he really worked so hard to do that. I remember watching him on stage perform and how he would just glide and make it seem like the music was just going through him. I mean, he would close his eyes and walk across the stage, and I'd sometimes wonder to myself, he could fall, he could trip, he doesn't know where he's going, but he never did.
Whether it's Beyonce or Lady Gaga or Chris Brown or Usher or Will.i.am or Justin Bieber or Justin Timberlake, there isn't a musician that doesn't quote Michael Jackson as being their idol.
I don't think there's anybody who comes close to having that type of work ethic.
They say that Willie Mays was one of the only 5 tool players in the history of baseball. A player that could run, field, hit for power, and throw. And in the music business, I'm not sure there was ever a 5-tool player other than Michael Jackson. Michael could write the songs, he could produce them, he could sing them, He could certainly perform and dance them, and he set fashion trends with his sense of style.
That's 6 tools you just named.
Well, I consider performing and dancing one and the same, but...
Hey, I'm with you all the way, David.
Right.
6 tools, I'm with you. Willie Mays and Michael Jackson, that's great.
There it is.
He did everything. He wrote, he performed, he danced. He did the business part of it. He counted his royalties.
Sometimes it's hard to believe he's even gone. Just the amount of music that I hear, the number of times that I hear people telling me about children that are discovering Michael for the first time, and all these things. It's like this energy that just does not go away.
The divinity that guy was so tapped into. There was a reason that he was unique and he was different than any other artist that we've ever seen. And he had something that was not definable to me. Whenever he stepped out and sang, whenever he made that connection with people, the molecules changed in the room. You know, that was what he could do. You know, there are people that can go out and you can be wowed by their technique, but he changed the molecules.
No one can quite say what the creative process is, because I have nothing to do with it almost, because it's created in space. It's God's work, not mine.
Gonna make a change for once in my life. It's gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right. As I turn up the collarbone, my favorite winter coat, the spring is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? A sonorous disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the wind, you know, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why no one got to know. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And your message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. Na 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 na. I've been a victim of a selfish kind of love. It's time that I realize girls long go home, not a nickel to love. Really pretending that they're not alone. Oh well, deep in the sky, somebody's broken heart and a washed out dreams. They follow the pattern of the wind you see, 'cause they got no place to be. That's why I'm starting with me. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And your message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And your message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. Your message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. Yeah.
Bye.